Hi, everyone. My name is Troy Epima, and I'm going to be talking about step eight from the Heart of Change, which is make change stick. So throughout the book, it gives a lot of good information about what changes need to be happening or how to implement those changes. But the last step of making the change stick can be a pretty big challenge that organizations face. One of the reasons that this is so hard to make the change stick is due to the culture of the organization. So the culture in terms of the book is the norms of behaviors and shared values in a group of people. And it's a complex concept. So it's hard to embed good change into a culture without its not sticking around. The reason this is that culture in an organization is deeper than rational thought. It's something that we just do as an organization that we don't have to think about. So making sure that that thought process shifts into the new cultural change can be really hard to implement in a short amount of time. So in the book, the manager had run a lean organization where he had cut his reporting structure down from 5 managers to 3 managers, and then went off to Switzerland and came back, and they had since implemented the other 2 managers. So it was hard for him as he had left and created that culture to get it to come back just because it was such a short amount of time. So we tend to go back to the ways that we were before, which makes that change again really fragile and hard to keep around in the organization. So one way that we can kind of prevent this as we make these cultural changes is using the culture to create a meaningful change. So making those decisions and implementing the behaviors that we want to see to make sure that the change does stick. And it's something that will last longer than we are in that role to make sure that the organization continues to grow and continues to have that stick. Because for an organization to change, it has to have those roots grow into it and make sure that it is something that not just one person is responsible for, but multiple people are responsible for. One of the best ways to do this is with a good orientation process, which kind of leads turnover down and kind of leads more into that long-term success. So when people leave an organization, the culture that they have created and been with them leaves with them, which is not always a bad thing. It can be, it can be a good thing just depending on where your organization is at. But bringing on new employees is always a struggle for any organization. So having a good orientation process where you are laying out the foundations of what your organization stands for gets employees on the right track faster. It gives employees the expectations that they deserve to know how to be successful in their organization and make sure that they understand who is in charge in their organization to make sure that they're making the right decisions to help implement a better culture going forward. One of the best ways that they showed in the book is through kind of real world feedback. So they used in their orientation process, they had videos of the CEO, videos of the chairman, videos of actual clientele that kind of showed what their organization was about. And they showed that it was able to impact the employees in a way that they were able to continue to make sure that that culture that they were building was continuing to develop with them. So it got rid of the old thought processes that they had before, where their A was not talking to B, and now A, B, and C were all communicating on the same level. To make sure that processes were getting done faster and more efficiently. So making sure that your employees are oriented into your organization's culture effectively is super strong and making sure that that change sticks long term. One of the other things that is really powerful is the promotion process. So making sure that you are promoting people within your organization that have exemplified the change that you want to see and making sure that they are put into positions that help drive that success, because you want to make sure that the people that are reporting to them and can see their success know that the reason they are moving up is because they are embracing the change, then they are thriving in the culture that you are creating with your organization. So that way that long-term success follows with them as you get those new employees in as well. It just creates a cycle where new employees are looking up to the tenured employees that are exemplifying those values, and it just continues to strengthen that culture over time. One of the last things to keep in mind as you're making a culture change and wanting to make it stick, as the book talks about, is the use of emotion. So emotions control who we are and how willing we are to get behind a cause within the organization. So making sure that employees know that you're more than just an organization, that you have values and beliefs that go further beyond your organization than what traditional companies have shown in the past, gets them a reason to get behind you and make sure that the change is implemented in the organization. And it also just gives them a good framework to make sure that they are making those decisions to implement, making those decisions to make sure that they're implementing your culture change effectively. And one of the last things that the book talks about as it kind of wraps up that chapter and kind of gives that cohesiveness of why it's important for the organization to make those changes and kind of why it is so hard to stick is just the way that we traditionally talk about behavior versus culture. So one of the things that it says in a change effort, culture comes last, not first, which most people don't think of because they kind of use culture and behavior interchangeably. But that culture is the long-term effect and the behavior is the short-term. And that's what you're changing now. That's what you want to make sure that you're communicating with your employees and your group members, that the behaviors are what you want to change, and you know that those behaviors will lead to a long-term culture change. So once you've been able to kind of implement all of those factors into that change process and make sure that you are working to make sure the change sticks and doesn't just become a behavior and becomes part of your culture, you will have long-term success ensuring that the organization change that you have gone through, the change effort, is going to be successful. Thank you.